What's our podcast called again? It's been so long, I can't remember what we called it.
It's the Review of Death podcast,
It
isn't
is
it, Matt?
Review of Death, isn't it? Okay, fine.
That's going in the introduction.
Hello, and welcome back to the second of our Doctor Who Review of Death podcasts. Once again, I am joined by Billy Garrett John. How are you, Billy?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes, absolutely great.
And I'm, of course, Matthew Toffolo. I should have introduced myself. Never mind. But welcome back. Sorry that it's been so long getting a second episode out. We've both been very busy. We've both been moving houses. You've moved house twice.
I've moved house 3 times this summer.
Yeah, wow. See? So, we've been a bit busy with stuff, but now we're settled, we're going to be able to do this a bit more often, which is good. And we're going to start off by doing a bit of a preview for Series 9, which starts on Saturday, which by the time you hear this will be tomorrow. And of course, some of you probably have seen the opening story or stories of Series 9 if you went to Wales to watch the premiere. But we're just going to talk about the titles of each of the stories and what we know so far, because the titles have only just been released this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was this week.
Exciting. So let's get the ball rolling then. So, episode 1, The Magician's Apprentice. Why do we think it's called that then, Billy?
Well, clearly they're going back to some sort of medieval time.
Yeah.
Some promotional photos were released earlier today and are in fact present in, today's copy, Thursday's copy of Doctor Who magazine. And yeah, it's got a bit of a medievally setting, with sort of Iron types wandering around. Iron types, wandering around with their axes and their long beards. So yeah, it's panning out to be. It seems to be going all over the place, the story, all over time and space. I mean, they're going to Caen, they're going to Lanzarote, they're going to some medieval times, and, frankly, they're going to Skaro.
They're going to Skaro, yeah. Old Skaro as well, as it looked back in the days of William Hartnell.
Which was really interesting to read about in this month's Doctor Who magazine, because they were talking about the design difference. They want to make it look functional as well as sort of interesting, and the idea was to literally just go right back to the Daleks and copy the interior of Skaro from there.
Fantastic.
I don't know why exactly they've decided. I guess besides that Doctor Who adventure game, in the new series we haven't seen the Skaro. And also aside from Asylum of the Daleks.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we've not seen anything of it. So there is a lot of leeway back and forth to actually, reinvent their home planet, which is really great.
I did notice when watching the trailer, actually, that I think if you look, I mean, it might be better in the Doctor Who magazine pictures, but right at the back of the room, you can see one of the sort of Dalek-shaped doors from the Daleks, and I saw that. I was like, oh, that's fantastic that they brought that back. Because I loved that in the old series, that the doors were just the perfect shape and size for a Dalek to glide through. It's such a nice touch.
It makes sense because, who else would they need to bring into a room and make comfortable?
Well, yes, precisely.
Which is why it always confused me in the movie adaptation of that first story. Why that control room is so massive. Like they could have all the control banks on their level, but instead they've got this massively overinflated and stupidly large rotating control box that revolves on the wall.
They just thought, oh, this looks good. That was cool.
Yeah, they're all about interior design in that story.
Why have they got biros?
Yeah,
with
exactly.
eyes on the back
and lava lamps.
And lava lamps, yeah.
They've got all their home furnishings from IKEA.
I think so.
Can we address a bit of an elephant in the room with this story though, which is, do you reckon maybe one of the worst kept secrets of recent times if it turns out to be true?
Oh, is this about a Mr. Dave Ross?
Yeah, it would be about Dave Ross, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I sincerely hope that we get an appearance from Mr. Dave Ross because it has been a few years now since we've seen him, and I don't think he was handled particularly well the last time we saw him. So it would be really nice if we got a good old reappearance from Mr. Dave.
It was a great performance by, I forget the name of the guy who did it. I'm sorry, that doesn't
Uh,
necessarily have any impact on your performance at all. But
Julian Bleach.
Julian Bleach, absolutely fantastic as Davros. I think brilliant. And when I saw Reece Shearsmith's name attached to the series, I instantly looked at him and thought he'd be a perfect young Davros. But
Yeah.
those stories don't seem to be connected, the one that he's appearing in,
No.
and the first opening stories. But I'd like to refer you to the opening page of the Gallifrey Guardian for this month of Doctor Who magazine,
Okay.
and to the top corner of the first page where they advertise another issue of the Essential Doctor Who published by Panini,
Yeah.
called The Essential Davros,
Oh.
which I think is a massively bad move on their behalf if they're releasing this in conjunction with the return of Davros.
Yeah.
They've just completely spoiled this opener.
Uh,
I've seen a lot of things around about the place from unofficial sources and from slightly official sources that have made. I mean, I know there's a Twitter account, a fantastic Twitter account you should all go and follow called Who SFX, who have
yeah.
just started a week of looking at Davros stories.
Oh.
So it. I can't see how it won't be Davros appearing in this story. We're going back. I mean, there's a brilliant shot of a Thal, a Genesis style Thal, in this month's issue of Doctor Who magazine. It's probably floating around online as well.
I think I've seen that.
But
Yes.
it's awesome because it looks like that is a Thal. We're
Yeah.
going right back to Genesis.
It's
So
very. It's
there's
very
no
interesting
way.
that they. Oh, sorry, Karen.
Well, I was just going to say there's absolutely no way they cannot have Davros in it now
Yeah.
because
It's
they've
just.
gone far enough to just
It's
warrant him appearing anyway.
really right on the nose. But I guess I assume what Stephen is doing is he trying to tie up the origin story that we see in the Daleks to the different origin story we see in Genesis. Is he
Possibly.
trying to sort that out and tie it up? I mean, I saw a lot of reviews for the episode online said that if you aren't a fan, you're probably not going to get what this story is all about because it is so heavily based in the lore. And of course, Joe Public isn't going to know Genesis of the Daleks and the Daleks, are they? So it's interesting that they've gone for that style of story so early on in the well to open the series. But I guess whatever they're doing is going to be big and grand, as we've seen from all the wonderful different styles of
Hmm.
Daleks that are going to be appearing in this story.
I was going to say two more things about this opening two-parter. Well, if they necessarily are two-parters, that's been a theme in the interviews. They're saying, well, they may not necessarily be linked,
Yeah,
which has been interesting. But I was going to say that the theory I have between the new series Daleks appearing with the classic Daleks is that the rumor being that is it the Doctor does or does not save a young Davros on Skaro?
I think the idea is I don't know if the idea is that he saves a young Davros and then realizes that if I hadn't have saved him, none of
Hmm.
this would have happened. I think that's the idea because I'm not sure if it is that actually he saves Davros and he's okay and perhaps he doesn't get into an accident where he loses his eyes and his legs and his
Hmm.
arm. Are we going to see a Davros fully walking, fully eyeballed,
Well, absolutely.
wandering
Or
around?
maybe Davros is the Doctor or something weird like that. You
Or
know.
maybe it's Adam from Series 1. Remember
Oh,
that
that would be
mad
the ultimate
rumour?
revenge, wouldn't it?
Jesus, remember that
I
from
remember
Series
that.
1? Everyone was like, oh yeah, Adam's Davros. How do you get to that
I
conclusion just
I
because he's got a hole in his forehead?
I don't even remember any of that. That just seems too dark to be true. The other thing I was going to mention has completely skipped my mind, so we'll carry on talking about something else until it comes back.
Okay.
But yeah, the idea, I was going to say, the reason that I think we may have this coming together of different eras of Daleks is that there's some sort of time schism or
Mm.
something like that, and they just appear together.
Yeah.
The wrong timelines intersect with each other, and we get the Scaronian Daleks meeting up with the RTD Daleks, and they just try and work together. But it's really cool, actually. For the first time ever, they've not shouted about something happening, and it's actually happened, and it's great. Like
Yeah.
Asylum of the Daleks, every Dalek ever. They've not mentioned a thing about, really about all these different eras of Daleks coming together, and yet it's actually happening on screen, and it seems to be happening in a much more obvious and practical way than it did in Asylum.
What's interesting, talking about the Daleks, one thing that made me think, oh, that's a bit weird. We've got obviously all the Daleks must be connected to Davros in some way. We assume we've got the special weapons Dalek there, but we've also got a renegade Dalek from Remembrance of the Daleks. It's like, oh, is that just? Well, I imagine it's just an oversight by the production team. They went,
Possibly.
oh, they were grey and black. We'll just get those in.
Hmm.
Ooh, bit of a balls up, but never mind.
If there'd been an Imperial, I think we all would have gone, we know what's going on. And with the
Yeah,
Supreme Dalek there as well,
yeah.
there could be a big power struggle.
I'd love to see a white and gold Imperial Dalek. That'd be great. Yeah,
I would love to see, I'd love to see another Dalek civil war, because
yeah.
it would just solidify that thing that's been missing, which is that racial purity. You don't get that heavy commentary in the show anymore.
No,
You get the whole thing, oh yeah, they hate everyone, they despise anything that isn't themselves, which of course is, the definition of racism. But you
yeah,
don't get that extended commentary about, you know, an extermination of a whole race just because they're different and because they appear to be inferior. That's the thing, is that they never underline that the Daleks are above other species. They never say, we are superior, but beyond that, there's no further talk about this grander Dalek scheme.
I think the closest we've got to that in the new series was probably Evolution of the Daleks,
Hmm.
when Sec started tampering around with stuff, and then the other Cultiskara was like, "Whoa, you can't do that. You can't mess around with the genetic code. You some
Mm.
sort of lunatic." I mean, obviously that was a terrible story, so please forgive
Well,
me
it
for
looks like
bringing that
he's
up.
back as well.
Oh yeah, he's in the background,
He's
isn't
in the
he?
background of some shots, but in Doctor Who magazine they say it's a look-alike Sec.
Oh
So I
right,
think, again, like the Renegade, they've just pulled any props. They even said they've been
yeah,
nicking stuff from the Doctor Who experience. And Peter
wow,
Capaldi, in a quick interview where he took um, whoever was interviewing him from Doctor Who magazine on set, he wryly turned to him and said, "Oh yes, we've been using a lot of stuff from the Doctor Who experience this year." So was actually more fucking Sean Connery than Peter Capaldi, but never mind. Um,
that's what I found when I was trying to do Peter Capaldi's voice. If the original raw audio, I go, I sound like Sean Connery.
as the thing about Peter is you've got to get the deep voice, and
Yeah,
he's got a slight sort of inverted lisp to his voice as well, so he's got to get it as deep and dark as possible. But
you do a better Capaldi than I do.
well, look, if
I
you
don't.
if you'd taken my invitation to do the voices on the Mission Dalek thing, I might have been
Yeah.
going with you. So stuff that. Right. So is that basically episodes 1 and 2 covered? Because they're directed by the same people, and
Yes.
that seems to be it. So we move on to episodes 3 and 4, Under the
Under the
Lake.
lake. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I'm having this one. Under the Lake and Before the Flood.
I don't think we
Um,
actually mentioned that episode 2 was called The Witch's Familiar,
oh yeah,
actually.
that as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
directed by Hetty MacDonald. First job on Doctor Who since Blink, which is very exciting.
All right.
I don't think she's been on it before Blink, and certainly not since.
No.
So that's really cool to see that. I mean, that it's really great this year. I mean, obviously it's weighted more towards a male production team, but we're getting a lot more female
A
names
lot
coming
more female
through,
people. Yeah.
which is awesome to see. Obviously, it'd be great if there were more. But from what Stephen Moffat said, and how much of this I don't know if I can take to be true, he's sending out invitations and people are turning them down.
Yeah.
So we'll see
We'll
what,
see.
what happens with that. So yeah, Under the Lake and Before the Flood,
Hmm.
the clips from which were the thing that excited me the most about that first trailer that came out. On the
It great,
subject of
didn't
the
it?
trailers, that first trailer was unbelievably exciting.
It was
I
very cool.
saw it and went, this is a different show.
Yeah,
It's
compared to
nothing that
last
we've
year.
seen before. Even and since there's the clips that we've seen, it's filmed in a completely different aspect ratio.
Yeah.
It looks like the whole thing they were going for, a blockbuster every week with series, was it 7A? It looks like
Yeah.
they're going for that, but they actually mean it. And
Yeah.
not only are they going for the look of it, but they're going for the depth and the brevity of story that comes with having a blockbuster.
I think
I,
that's the good thing about having two-parters, even
yeah,
if they're not two-parters as we see them traditionally. I mean, they may be connected by very fine thread, but it just gives it that extra scope to explore things over time that you just can't do in 45 minutes.
I think we'll see the previous years where they've just been doing 45-minute stories as just wasted time.
Yeah,
So many of those stories, the one that comes to mind off the top of my head, and there are dozens and dozens of others, but something say like the God Complex could have
yes,
done with a two-parter. Even like Asylum of the Daleks, that could have done with a two-parter.
yeah,
Pick any story from the new series that wasn't done brilliantly in 45 minutes, like say Blink, could have been a two-parter.
definitely.
And now we've got two parts coming back this year. This is exactly what I wanted to see. In fact, what I wanted to see were three stories a year, but they're
All two-part
2 hour long
stories.
parts, and
Yeah,
that would have been fantastic because you're getting roughly the same amount of stories every year, except you're breaking it down into a much more workable format.
yeah,
So yeah, this next story, like I said, the trailer got me so excited. That clip where that girl turns round and the ghost with no eyes is staring at her, and
very
that
creepy.
electronic music
Mm,
stings in, and it sent chills up my spine. I went, this is what I've been waiting for. This is
yeah.
just so cool. And it looks great. I can't work out yet, however, which is the story with the Vikings and which is the ones with the ghosts, because they seem to
Um,
be blurring together.
this two-parter is the one with the ghosts.
Right. Okay.
And I read an interview today with Brian, is it Mitchin?
Mitchin. Yeah.
Mitchin?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said that they've played around with the idea of being haunted. And they said, because if you're being haunted in a time travel show, it basically means you can be haunted by your own ghost. I was like, oh, that's a clever idea. But what he also added was that Before the Flood is actually set before Under the Lake,
Wow.
and that the Doctor has to travel back to fix the future or
Very cool.
something. So very interesting. So I guess that's another one of those. It's a two-parter, but this is like a backwards two-parter because we're not doing it in chronological order.
Absolutely, and written by Toby Whithouse,
Yeah.
who did A Town Called Mercy, The God Complex, Vampires of Venice, and School Reunion, none of which really played with that kind of a concept.
No.
But I think that's really, really, really exciting to see that they
Yeah.
are messing around with these sort of concepts and these ideas. I mean, I think I was speaking to Tasha the other day. I said when we look back again, same thing. When we look back on the last couple of years, we'll go, why weren't they doing stories like this?
Mm.
Because the depth and the scope and the ability to do stories like that in the confines and frames of Doctor Who, it's such a wasted opportunity to not see stories like that found footage one we've got coming up later.
Yeah, that's going to be
And
very
this
interesting.
whole thing with the time travel and the flipping the parts around and stuff like that, you're gonna think, why are they not? Why haven't they done this before?
Yeah. So, anything else that we can add about this story? We've got no eyes.
That yeah. Well, okay. I reckon that's directly Nick from Ghostwatch.
Oh,
Ghosts with no
yes.
eyes.
So no eyes.
So I would not be surprised if Pipes turns up at some point. As cool as that would be, just to see Capaldi saying, "Why you're wearing a dress?" That'd be really hilarious to see. And then yeah, so now we move on to the episode they keep talking about on Twitter. It's really boring, just ranting and raving. Do you know we got Maisie Williams in this story? It's
Oh,
like, oh,
no.
for God's sake, like, great. She's a great actress. I've seen a couple of episodes of Game of Thrones. I think she's been in some of them. I can't
Yeah.
remember. I've seen that cyberbullying show she was that thing she was in for Channel 4. That she's brilliant in that. But like this whole thing about pop culture fandoms colliding,
Yeah.
it makes it almost unwatchable when it comes to the broadcast because that's all that you're thinking about. You're thinking about the people that are thinking about, oh my god, it's a crossover between Doctor Who and Game of Thrones. I've got to get on Tumblr and write some fan fiction about this.
And the thing is, the setting for the girl who died, this is the one with the Vikings, and we've already seen there's like a great big serpentine dragon-like
Oh
creature.
yeah,
It's like they were just like Maisie Williams is in it. She's in Game of Thrones. Let's just make the episode Game of Thrones, but
yeah.
with the Doctor turns up.
And this is the episode as well with the kingfishers. Is that what they're called? The
Uh,
the things that look like oh, BioShock thing. The big
oh yeah.
submarine looking things.
Oh, that's what they're called. Is it
I think
Kingfishers?
they're called the kingfishers. Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard two alien names today: the kingfishers and the Maya. I can't remember what the Maya are. I
Right.
think that maybe the Maya might be the dragon.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't remember, but I think they're called the kingfishers. But I think it's
I
an
thought they were
awesome
birds.
name for a
Kingfishers.
monster.
I thought they were birds.
Kingfishers, yeah, they are. Yeah, I don't know.
um,
Fishers, water, Vikings,
dragons.
dragons.
Yes. Well, we've got Odin in it
Mm.
apparently. So
Wow.
obviously they're going to play around. It's probably going to end up being the whole like a siren Sutek thing, but actually the Viking gods were actually aliens from another planet, and
Yeah.
I mean it's basically what they did in the Thor film. So I expect they're going for something kind of like that. Obviously, there's a huge thing going around about who is Maisie Williams, who's her character. But actually, I think that Brian Minchin sort of spoiled this in
Right.
his interview that he did. Because obviously we've seen the trailer where she's in the sort of highwayman get-up,
Oh yes.
and the doctor sees her and goes, "You," and she's like, "What took you so long, old man?" or whatever she says.
Mm.
And according to this interview, we've got the girl who died, set with the Vikings. Maisie Williams is in it. And then we've got the woman who lived, which is set in a different time,
Mm.
and Maisie Williams' character is in that. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a case of, oh, this is someone the Doctor has met before,
Absolutely.
in as much as, oh, yeah, it's something to do with his history. I think it's literally just like, oh, you were in the last story in a different time. What are you doing here?
Mm.
I think it's literally just that. I could be wrong, and if I'm proved wrong, well, fair enough.
Well, spoilers, everybody. She's playing the highwayman.
Oh, yeah.
So there we go.
I think that's also the episode that's got the guy who looks a bit like a Farrell, that breathes fire out of his gob.
Oh right. Okay.
The Lion Man.
Yeah, the Lion Man. Yeah.
I think it's that story.
Oh, we should also mention the monster that leans over Capaldi and he says something very, something like, "Oh, this is the day you get defeated," or whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
That's in Under the Lake and Before the Flood.
Yeah.
So that's all connected as well.
Yeah, it's quite a scary looking thing.
I love the look of that thing.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's absolutely brilliant. Then we've got the Zygon two-parter.
Yes. Which is obviously a two-parter.
Yeah. So let's also talk about the titles for this because I love the fact they're doing these parallels between the two, especially the finale, which we'll talk about in a bit, which I just think is a genius little bit of wordplay. So we've got the Zygon invasion and the Zygon inversion. I think it's really awesome to see that, we're getting interesting linking stories. They said this one's a global conspiracy thriller that stretches around the world, and it sounds like a Pertwee story to me.
Does sound like a Pertwee story. Unit R in it, aren't they?
Unit R in it, yeah. We've got Osgood coming back, clearly a Zygon.
Yeah.
There was how is she going to be? Oh, she's a Zygon. Like there's no ambiguity there at all. And even in the synopsis, I think it might have been the Radio Times one that Moffat wrote. He said, Zygons and humans are living together peacefully, but nobody knows which is which. And then, hang on a minute. And then Osgood calls the Doctor. How is that possible? And we're all meant to go, I have to watch this episode to find out. You can tell from that synopsis, it's like there are Zygons and there are humans, and then weirdly, somebody that died is then contacting the Doctor, and we're all meant to go, I wonder what's going on there, when it's so obvious.
But is she a Zygon, or did the Zygon one get killed by the Master? Or
Well,
did I miss it?
that's the only interesting ambiguity going on there at all.
Well, you say interesting.
I say exactly. I say interesting.
Yeah, it's nice that sort of thread that was really left hanging is going to get tied up. Interestingly, I'm looking at Wikipedia, so I don't know how how official this is, but according to Wikipedia, episode 1 of this story is written by Peter Harness, who wrote. Did you write Orient Express last year? But episode 2 is credited to both Peter Harness and Stephen Moffat.
Mm.
So, wonder what that's about.
Oh, Harness wrote Kill the Moon, which is better because I like Kill the Moon and I didn't like Orient Express.
Ah, maybe
So
not.
I'm one of the very few. If there's anybody else out there that preferred Kill the Moon to Orient Express, we're in a dying breed and we're a club of our own. So we should make T-shirts. Yeah, I like the fact they're going back to doing this dual writing thing. In fact, Jamie Matheson, who wrote Flatline and Mummy on the Orient Express, is co-writing The Girl Who Died with Moffat as well.
Oh yeah.
So that's very cool. I think it added a depth to it over last year because, of course, it was assumed that maybe Moffat's only bits in these co-written stories were to insert the Missy bits, insert the Missy scenes. But
Yes.
I don't think that's true because we know that a lot of rewriting was done by Russell T Davies, and in fact probably a lot of rewriting done by Stephen Moffat, and a lot of stories that are credited to other writers. And I can't imagine that he, having rewritten most of the script, he wouldn't want to have his name co-written to it as well.
No.
So I'm guessing that these are all collaborative stories, and if that's the case, that's brilliant because more ideas and more theories being bounced around the production office is exactly what we need after, you know, looking at this year and then maybe looking backwards from the end of this series to from like series 1 to 7, even maybe to 8. I think we'll see that as quite a stale period compared to what we appear to be getting from series 9.
I was going to say there was quite a stagnation, wasn't there, going on between Series 6, 7,
Mm.
Series 5. It all felt just the same old.
I think series 5 had a massive breath of fresh air put into it, and then series 6 seemed to dissolve back into play by play,
Yeah.
week by week. Oh, we're doing 13 stories a year, and there'll always be a finale and all this kind of stuff. Um, but I'm glad that we seem to be that the show seems to have, after last year, which was a step in the right direction, and I think that's always what Series 8 is going to be seen as. Series 8 is going to be seen as the stepping stone between the stagnation period and this brand new breath of fresh air. I think Series 9 is going to be a massive step forward. Maybe just visually, maybe just in terms of the storytelling format, but certainly I think the stories we're looking at the moment are really, really exciting.
Yeah, well, I hope so. So, I think that's it for the Return of the Zygons. I like the fact that it's the Zygon invasion. It sounds like an old Doctor Who
It
story.
does.
It's like a very classic title, which
I
is
even
nice.
heard that prior to this, I mean, I know for a fact before it was the Zygon invasion, it was Invasion of the Zygons
Oh, really?
and Inversion of the Zygons. I
Hmm.
actually prefer those as titles, but
Invasion of the Zygons.
Invasion of the Zygons.
Yeah.
But I will say that the Zygon invasion and the Zygon inversion would look perfect on a Target book cover.
Yes.
They'd look absolutely amazing.
Get Chris Achilles to come out and draw a cover
Definitely,
for us.
definitely.
So that's episode 7 and 8. So on to episode 9, which is, I'm pretty sure, definitely is a single parter.
Yes, it is.
Sleep No More.
The Mark Gatiss story.
Yes, the
Brilliant.
very experimental story for Doctor Who.
From what we've heard, yeah, it's a found footage story. This is the one with Rhys Shearsmith in it.
Yeah.
Um, and the last thing that I heard is they were contemplating whether or not to have the opening titles at the front of this story.
Yeah, I'm not. I sort of, when I read that myself, I thought, oh, that's quite a nice idea. But then I sort of thought, yeah, but at the end of the day, we know it's not found footage. So.
Yeah, and we also know that in the grand scheme of things, running from 1963 to 2015, every episode has had the title sequence at the front, give or take.
Yeah.
And to have just for the sake of one story, although maybe we're being a bit of an old fart, collectively about this, just going, oh well, you've got to have the title sequence at the beginning. Maybe for the sake of the story, we can forgo having the title sequence this time.
Hmm.
you're
Maybe,
not you're
maybe.
not convinced.
Well, no, maybe if they don't have a prologue, and if it just goes straight into the titles and then straight into the found footage,
Mm.
perhaps that would be better because you can't have a prologue with the found footage, then have the title sequence, and then go back to it because then
Yeah.
it really does break it up. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
I
It is a
think I
tricky
think
one.
if you were gonna have it, and I just thought while you were talking, I just thought the 50th didn't have a title sequence, so you know.
It is. It had the William Hutler one, didn't it?
Yeah, but that's hardly a title sequence. That
it
like the title sequence that they did was like we were talking about before we started recording. The Red Dwarf credits appearing,
oh, they
the
did,
actors
didn't
credits.
they?
That was the title sequence. There was no
Uh,
there were no names appearing in the Hartnell Harrow round.
yeah. Well, that was the title sequence, right?
Mm.
That was it. That was the proper title sequence
Uh,
before 21st century names started flying around. This was we went old school for one night only.
Fine, fine. I think if they're gonna do it, I like the fact we're talking more about the title sequence than the actual
Then the
story.
actual
But I
story.
suppose
Yeah.
that's because we don't really know that much at this point. Um, I think that we're gonna either go straight from and now on BBC One it's time for Doctor Who title sequence into the story, and
Yeah.
then you can get all that out of the way. But then it'd feel a bit weird. Not obviously they've got to have the end credits.
Yeah.
So that anyway, yeah. So that's we'll get bogged down in this conversation otherwise. Um, yeah, exciting to see an actually experimental story for on Doctor Who for once.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see Doctor Who do the Blair Witch Project.
It's the musical next year, you know.
Oh, is it? Oh,
No, I don't
fantastic.
know. I don't know. I made that up. I thought you wouldn't like that idea.
No, I'd hate a Doctor Who musical.
Well, I haven't heard the Big Finish ones yet, but I'm certainly game for it.
So yeah, we didn't really know much about Sleep No More, but then again, we don't really know an awful lot about the following three stories. So
Mm,
episode 10 is Face the Raven, which is written by Sarah Dollard, who had
yes.
written for Torchwood in the past. This is her first Doctor Who. Apparently, she was offered Doctor Who a few times in the past, but she said she wasn't interested.
Mhm.
And I think either Stephen Moffat said, "Well, what about this?" And she thought, "Well, that's a good idea," or she came up with an idea and said, "What about this?" I'm not sure, but the young man from Flatline, he's back, isn't
Yes,
he?
he is.
Rigsy,
Rigsy, yeah.
yeah. So I'm guessing this is set in Bristol again. Really?
Yay!
Um,
Oh no, I'm not there anymore.
oh
That's
yeah.
that's that's no good for me.
Um, odd title, Face the Raven. One would assume that the alien in it is a big bird. But apparently it's something, it's one of these sort of stories, kind of like Flatline was like, oh, sometimes a painting isn't a painting or whatever that
Mm,
was. In this case, it's, there are side streets that you walk past every day that you've never been down, and what happens if you go down them and they take you somewhere that you
mm.
didn't know existed? I don't know. It's so a bit wishy-washy like that. It's something that we get a lot in 21st century Doctor Who. A
Yeah,
lot
well,
of
I
that kind of
guess I
thing.
guess that's all about linking the audience back to the show again after
Yeah,
years of distancing the audience, putting them at arm's length, saying we're going to let the ditzy companion explain this one for you. The new
yeah,
series, what I really love about it is that it has actually gone. Look around you. There's so much stuff around. That big long spiel that you hear in the Sarah Jane Adventures. There's adventure wherever you look, if only you try and find it, all that kind of stuff. I like the fact that it is sort of going out in that direction. Also point out that it's Catherine Tregenna who wrote the Torchwood stories. She's writing The Woman Who Lived,
oh,
and
oh, she wrote, oh,
Sarah Dollard has written The Game, which I believe Toby Whithouse was also a part of,
oh, right, okay.
which was a really awesome espionage thriller.
Right.
It was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, interesting,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, 6-part series created by Toby Whithouse, and she was one of the 3 writers, including Whithouse, on the team for that show. It was fantastic.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to have a look at that. I think that's. Oh, well, the only thing we can talk about here, other than the story itself, is Peter Capaldi gets a new costume.
Yes,
Lovely, nice burgundy style velvet coat.
but it looks like it's only in that story, and yet
I,
on the front cover of Doctor Who magazine last month, he had a picture with Missy in the costume.
yeah, well, I have a funny feeling that it's in the finale as well.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure it's in the finale, so
so I suspect we'll see Missy in that as well then.
yeah, that probably is a giveaway that if she was there,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, well, come on then, let's do the
Also,
publicity
Matt,
photos.
do you want to vent any frustration about Capaldi's costume in the first 2 stories?
Yes. Well, for most of the series, I think is I don't like this hoodie. I don't like these t-shirts. Oh, sorry, that was my
He's getting
anger.
so angry, he's whacking stuff.
Where I gesticulated, I just knocked the wire into the microphone. Yeah, I don't like this. Don't like the t-shirts. I don't like the hoodie. I'll be honest, the trousers they're all right, but again, take it or leave it. And they've been described. I don't like these new sunglasses, which are apparently Sonic sunglasses. For fuck's sake.
Hang on, we had that in that Matt Smith's Silurian story.
Oh, he had special sunglasses, didn't
Yeah,
he?
and he's got a Sonic guitar, and it's brilliant. And
Oh
I
God,
saw
yes.
somebody cosplaying as that Doctor. I think, in fact, it was Crystal D, the host of Doctor Who the Fan Show,
Yeah.
which I've actually been watching. So
Oh,
it's been actually very good recently. It's always been good, but I've actually watched these last couple of ones, and it's been quite interesting. Michelle Gomez
yeah.
is probably the most interesting person to see interviewed out of all of them because she stays in character for the whole interview.
Yeah.
If any of you are subscribed to Philip DeFranco on YouTube, watch his interview with Michelle Gomez, and he says, "Do Clara and Missy team up for the greater good in this story?" And she goes, "I don't understand what that word means. Missy doesn't understand what good means." And it's like she's so got it. She's so got her character.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the guitar that Capaldi is playing in that story, I'm sorry to all cosplayers, it's not a Fender Stratocaster. If you would have heard the interviews with Capaldi, he said it's like a Fender Stratocaster had been described to somebody who'd never seen one. And I'm yet to find the actual type of guitar, but it's not a Fender Strat. Um, sorry, just needed to put that out there because it was
Yeah.
irritating me slightly.
These words mean nothing to me.
No,
I don't
no.
know what this all means.
Have you ever seen Hendrix play a guitar? It's the guitar he's holding,
Oh,
or the
right.
guitar.
Okay.
If you an electric guitar, it's that guitar. It's that shape.
I've also, again, sort of linked to his costume. They sort of described the Doctor in this series as an intergalactic hipster,
Oh my god!
which is not the sort of thing
But
that I
those
want to
trousers are
hit.
from Top Man. Those checked Hartnell trousers, which
Yeah.
Capaldi's even said in Doctor Who magazine, he wore them because it was a Skaro story and they were going back to the beginning, and he wanted a little homage to William Hartnell. Those
Oh, really?
those checked trousers are on sale right now in Top Man. I am not joking. Go into any Top Man shop, you can buy them. They are the
Oh,
actual trousers he's wearing.
well, that's it. That's
I
what I'm
saw
doing
them on a
tomorrow night.
wall and I was so close to buying it and then realised I don't cosplay anymore and then walked away.
And realised you would never wear them
I'd never wear
in
them
real life.
anywhere else. So
That's interesting. Oh, I like that. Well, fair play to you, Capaldi.
yeah, he's done a
Um,
really nice job with that.
yeah, yeah, but I'm not sure, not so keen on this hipster thing. And I think
No.
that's the thing with the guitar as well. I think, although I don't think it's used a lot, I think it is literally like a short scene where he's probably on stage with Jimi Hendrix or something
No,
daft
it's
like
not.
that.
No, it's not.
Oh,
No,
is it
it's not.
not?
There is the scene where he's in that big tent in medieval England. There's
Yeah,
a promo photo with Iron Gron lookalike holding an
yeah.
axe, and then there's a door opening in front of him, and there's all this smoke, and the silhouette in the smoke is Capaldi there holding his electric guitar, and
Because he's holding his axe.
exactly.
Oh,
And I think that's going to be the joke. There's a scene inside the TARDIS with his electric guitar,
oh yeah,
and
yeah,
there's another shot. I don't know if it's the same one. You know that shot in the first trailer where he just sort of strums it and there's
yeah.
all those lights flashing around him. I think that might be the same scene inside of the big medieval tent, but he's got a big amplifier behind him. So
Right.
it looks like he's gonna shred some medieval faces off and win the support of everybody around him. But Missy's in that scene as well as Clara as well. So I
It's
don't know
very
what's gonna
strange.
happen there.
It's really weird. I want Patrick Troughton to turn up and just say, "Look, what's wrong with the recording, mate?"
Yeah, they could they could jam together, and then you'd
And get
have
the
the
coil
koi
and
and the
spoons.
spoons. That'd be awesome.
Excellent. So that's Face the Raven. So then we have the final two stories, both written by Stephen Moffat, both directed by Rachel Talalay again.
Mm.
Uh, the first episode, Heaven Sent, another heaven thing, and it's only got the Doctor in it apparently.
Wow.
How are you going to do that for 45 minutes?
Well, they tried to do it, I guess, with no companion for the Deadly Assassin, and they had to throw in a couple of characters for that as well.
Yeah.
Maybe this is I refer back to Doctor Who magazine, the suppository of all knowledge and wisdom. I was looking through it, and they were saying stuff about how, um, Moffat said the Doctor's got a new goal for the next 50 years. He's got a new mission.
Yeah.
He's gone back on that in this issue of Doctor Who magazine. I'm going to try and find the exact quote, but he says here, the whole show hasn't now become about the Doctor in search of his home. He doesn't even say he's searching for it. I think he thinks it might be his destination one day out there. He doesn't say, now I shall go forth and do nothing but search for my home planet, because he wouldn't. Why would he? He's too busy visiting supernovas trying to something, something, something. But why, in that case, if he's not actively searching for it every day, I can't imagine why he would have got so frustrated at the end of the finale last year.
Yeah.
Because I thought the whole point was I found Gallifrey, I wasn't even looking for it and I found it, it's like, well, like, why? I mean, I know Missy gave him coordinates and the coordinates
Yeah.
were bollocks, but why well, I guess maybe that's the explanation. The coordinates were bollocks. He thought he could trust Missy, and then she's just turned his back on him.
He's like, I'm not going to bother looking for it. Oh, someone's giving me the coordinates. Oh, they're shit. You know what? Bollocks to it. I'm not
I'm
even
gonna
going to
smash the
bother.
console up.
I'm not even going to bother looking for it. Perhaps, now I'm going to think outside the box here, and this is going to be completely wrong. But I think there's been quite a few rumours going around about there being something about old doctors appearing via CGI and all this kind of stuff. Maybe, and I'm not sure if they've. I'd have to find the interviews or whatever. Have they said, oh, this story only has Peter Capaldi in it? Or have they said this story only has the Doctor in it? Because if that's the case, you could always say, well, if there were multiple Doctors, they're still the same character.
That's a
So,
very interesting point.
so you could say, oh, well, this story's only got the Doctor in it, but that could be Peter Capaldi and Paul McGann.
They've said this. They said that they're gonna mess around with people's perceptions of what we've been saying. This whole thing of, oh, are they? I don't know why I'm trying to do an impression of Stephen Moffat. Are they two-parters or are they not?
Yeah.
That to me seems a bit weird. It's almost
Mm.
like they haven't decided themselves whether or not they want to link them together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard this rumor. The only thing I heard was that Tennant was seen in Cardiff, and there's a possibility that he was doing some scenes as a ghost doctor,
Yeah.
and that McGann was also in this, and there's a possibility he's doing something as a ghost doctor. I don't know. Uh,
Interesting.
that's all I've heard. But you know, I told my girlfriend, and even she was interested in it. And
Yeah.
when she gets interested in something to do with Doctor Who, it's probably something that most people will be as well.
Well, let's hope so. It'd be nice to see Paul McGann come back, especially now that they've given him a new costume.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So the finale is Hell Bent.
Brilliant, brilliant. I can't get over these two titles. I don't know why I love them so much.
Again, another story we don't really know an awful lot about. Hell Bent.
Or even if they're linked.
Or even if they're linked.
We do know they were filming in Viva Ventura for it though, so that could be the surface of Gallifrey, or it could be the surface of Khan, or it could be anything.
Yeah, because there is a rumor going around about it being something like in the vaults of Gallifrey.
Mm.
There's ghosts wandering around.
I like that idea though, that around the exposed Eye of Harmony, that you know things from time would seep out, maybe
Yeah.
relevant to the people around them, because I get the impression, and I think we all do, that the Eye of Harmony has a cognitive sort of personality like the TARDIS.
Mm.
So to see an episode where it maybe as a protection mechanism, there's a story as well that's is it Time Flight, where they go inside that thing and there's the ghosts of Adric.
Yes. You get
Something
Adric.
like that, where
Yeah.
also there's an episode of Blake Seven, the first story, where they get on board the Liberator. There's the machine on board projects mental images into the heads of people that the ship thinks is trying to steal it, and it
Right.
drives them mad, and that's their defense mechanism. So something similar to that, where whoever's around it sees ghosts from their past,
That
could be
quite
very
interesting.
cool.
Mm. But I think that really is it. I think And that's not even been something that's been confirmed. I don't think that
No.
is literally just speculative rumor. So we really don't know anything about the finale. Whereas last year we obviously knew that the Cybermen were in it.
Mm. But that was very
Uh,
public filming, though. This seems to be a studio-based one, and
yeah,
actually, this comes from somebody who has stayed away from spoilers all year round.
yeah.
Um,
I haven't gone looking this year.
mm,
The only thing I've been looking for only lately is to find out whether or not Dave Ross is
mm,
going to be
sure.
in the series. But there was, I mean, the rumor initially was that the opening story and the finale would be linked.
Right.
Um, Personally, I don't think that's probably the case, but could be wrong. Who knows? But there was also something that we haven't mentioned. Apparently, Radio Times mentioned, not in the most recent issue, but I think possibly the last issue when they did like a smaller preview for Series 9,
Right.
they mentioned something about the Weeping Angels and the Cybermen coming back. Now, I think that usually Radio Times are pretty good with their information, but that must be a balls up.
I don't know because they're not part of the BBC anymore. They were bought by a different publisher.
Yeah.
So they are, even though Doctor Who is a bit of a cornerstone for them, I'm guessing,
Mm.
they know just as much as us,
Yeah.
and we'll come on to it in a minute with our second half of news after the preview. But
Yeah.
it seems to me that they've got just as much of a clue of what's going on as us, because they're not saying we've got these exclusive interviews. Even the Telegraph had an exclusive interview with Capaldi on the set of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
There's nothing tangible or official has been coming out of the Radio Times
Radio
as of
Times.
late.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that, I was like, what?
Mm.
There's been nothing to suggest that the
Hang on a minute.
Cybermen are in it.
Haven't you already done that story?
Yes, I didn't think of that. I reckon the Radio Times been searching my YouTube channel and thought, oh, I'll just chuck that in.
They might have watched it and gone, gosh, this is so convincing. This has to be a leaked episode like last year. Do you want to move on to the new bit of news, this breaking news that we've been getting
Yes.
in live from our people at Rothloke Studios? What's
Yeah.
happening?
So when did this sort of come out? Was that Tuesday or Wednesday?
It was Wednesday because my girlfriend was
Wednesday.
very happy when I told her.
Oh. So the news is that I think it started off with the Mirror, and then all different newspapers and websites started posting that Jenna Coleman was leaving Doctor Who at the end
Including
of
the
the
BBC.
including the BBC, but they didn't report it as, oh yeah, by the way, officially Jenna
Mm.
Coleman's leaving Doctor Who.
It
It
was
was like,
reportedly, wasn't it?
yeah, reportedly Jenna. Well, you should know. It's your bloody program. Very strange. I guess the BBC thought if we don't report on it, it looks like we're confirming it.
Mm.
But if we report on it and say it's reportedly so, we're still
It's a
not
bit
confirming
tricky,
it.
isn't it?
It's an awkward situation for the BBC. Um, I'll be honest, I'm not surprised if this is the case, because you've got to remember last year she was gone, wasn't she? She was at the end of Series 8. She'd gone, and it was only that they twisted her arm to get her back for the Christmas special.
Right.
Unless she was signed on to do the Christmas special, and she was meant to leave at the end of that, and then they sort of twisted her arm and said, "Look, do you want to stay on for another series?" So the fact that she's leaving now doesn't come as much of a surprise, really. We had an extra 12 episodes with her that we weren't supposed to get. So, and I guess as an actress, 9 months a year when you really can't work on anything else, it's tricky, isn't it? You can't, you want to get out of that same rut after a while and start doing other things. So it's a
Absolutely.
shame because I really liked her, but I really like her as a companion, and I think she works incredibly well with Capaldi. And they've been saying a lot of stuff about how this year is all about the Doctor and Clara, and how they've now become this great team and all this kind of thing.
What was that noise?
I was just about to say, what is that? But I don't think that was in my
That
house.
was definitely from your abode, dude.
Really? My God, that's oh
There's
my God,
some creepy
Jesus.
clown ghost.
Sorry, my girlfriend just walked into the room and frightened the hell out of me. Blimey.
What was that
Oh,
noise?
was that the door? Was that the door opening? We heard a weird squeaking noise.
Tap, love.
Oh, it's the tap. Oh yeah, the tap in our bathroom. The
Oh,
cold tap is.
it sounded like some weird, creepy clown horn.
Yeah, it was very, very frightening. It sounded like a creepy clown horn. Yeah, it makes
That's
really.
the one.
Yeah, it makes really awful noises. Yeah, so Jenna Coleman. Yeah, I really liked Clara, and I'm excited to see that if this series is about the ongoing adventures and now they're this great team. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but yeah, it will be a shame to see her go.
It absolutely reminds me of Colin Baker's work with Nicola Bryant on Doctor Who,
Yeah,
because obviously in that first series they were at loggerheads with each other and they weren't quite gelling, but there were signs that maybe they'll get along after all. And then when we see them again in the Mysterious Planet, they're best mates.
yeah.
So I like the fact that we are seeing a similar sort of transition between the two characters.
I also think it's probably I don't think there's any sign of there being a relationship for Clara this series that we
I
see.
hope not.
Yeah, because although it worked in Series 8, I know not everyone was enamoured with it. I think it would be nice to give that side of things a rest this year. You can't do it again so soon afterwards.
I think that if anybody's interested in seeing the stuff I put on Twitter, it's mainly rubbish. But the Doctor Who Twitter page posted this thing recently about 10 reasons why Clara has the best life in the universe, and it was like I had to screenshot it and I put a tweet out saying something like, "Oh yeah, besides the fact she lost the love of her life tragically at a very young age, she has a great life." They're not acknowledging Danny Pink at all. In fact, there is a storyline in Doctor Who magazine right now about Clara seeing Danny again on some alien planet, and he's just like, it's their final goodbye, and it's going on in comic book form. So
As if it wasn't already wrapped up enough.
Jesus God, please do not give her a relationship in series, because that will completely undermine Danny Pink. And I love Danny Pink as a character, and it just so happens that Samuel Anderson is a really nice bloke in real life. I don't want this to become a thing where relationships are just tossed aside, because it'll be like Amy and Rory at the beginning of Series 7, sorry.
Oh God, yeah.
Well, that bollocks where they broke up in a web series that not even a tenth of the audience watching the TV show had seen.
That was just ridiculous.
I can't believe what were they thinking. Oh Jesus! I just realised Rufus Hound is in this season as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
apparently he steals every scene.
Oh my! I'm sure he's a nice dude, and apparently he's a Doctor Who fan, but I don't find the guy funny. That's almost as annoying as somebody saying Jack Whitehall's going to be in the show.
God, don't
I'd back out if Jack Whitehall ever touched Doctor Who. That'd be my moment where and I'm sure people out there would agree with me. The ultimate guest role in Doctor Who would be Carl Pilkington appearing as Davros. Would be absolutely amazing. Weird, innit? I'm like in a wheelchair on that. It's weird, innit? All right.
I think Carl Pilkington should be a companion for
Oh
a one-off story,
That
and the
would be
Doctor just
incredible.
take him to all these amazing places and just wear him down because he's just like.
There's bin liners here. We come to the planet of Calabaxosis, and that, like, what's going on? It's weird, that, isn't it? All the locals are like eating weird food and that. I got my Monster Munch. Yeah, all right, it's weird.
That's just bubble wrap.
He'd point out all the. There's a seam there. There's a guy in the costume.
I think that needs to be a children in need or a comic relief sketch.
Oh my God! Or if anybody, I don't read fan fiction, but if anybody out there writes one, not where Capaldi and Pilkington get it on, but where they're traveling around the universe. Oh God, I had a horrible image of Capaldi saying something like, "I love your round bald head. You look like an egg." Okay, right. Well, I think off the back of this, I'm going to start a petition to get both Carl and Ricky, and possibly even Steve, to play a really tall Cyberman in Doctor Who.
A really tall Bristolian Cyberman.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Right, delete.
All right. Yeah, sorry, mate. I just want to wander over here. Is it all right if I delete you right now? Is that okay?
I think this is time for us to say goodbye for now, because we will be back to talk about the episodes throughout the year. Interestingly, Christmas special. It's like a week break between the end of the
I
series
know, it's
and the
20
Christmas special
days. There's
airing.
20 days between the two stories.
It's mad. No wonder they didn't do 13 episodes because it would have
Yeah.
just been a 14-part series. But yeah, there we go. So thank you for listening, guys. We hope you enjoy the first episode tomorrow because this is when this is going out. It's going out on Friday. So enjoy tomorrow's episode, which is The Magician's Apprentice with the Daleks and Missy and Clara and Unit and Spain and Scarrow and possibly Dave Ross. And come back next time when Billy and I will talk about that episode. And we'll give our thoughts on it. I can't talk. Give our thoughts on it. Yeah, no, I'm turning into a Dalek. We shall give our thoughts on the episodes themselves. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
And we shall see you. We'll listen to. No, we won't listen to you.
We're here somewhere.
Yeah. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.